All right. Good morning, everyone. It is 11:05. We're going to call the Electric Utility Board meeting to order for April 19th, 2022. Just y'all today? Perfect. All right. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? None. All right. That brings us to item 3, recognition and appreciation of the service of one Mr. David McCullough, Director of Electric Utilities, to Lubbock Power and Light in the city of Lubbock. Is anyone going to do anything here? All right, David, come on up. I was told we only had $50, so we didn't get. I don't think there's any special. All right. You came on what? 2008.
2014.
2014. Well, we're June of. Oh, we don't remember it so well. I just want to say personally, I've been here since 2017, I believe, 16, somewhere in there, and the things that have happened since then for you and LPNL has been tremendous. You've saved millions of dollars for the ratepayers and the citizens of Lubbock through Lubbock Power and Light with the changes that we've made as a utility board, and all that wouldn't have been done without you. And then getting us connected to ERCOT, another tremendous thing, and now providing us with retail choice coming up in the next few years has all been quarterbacked by you. And so I appreciate your vision and everything else that you've done for not only Lubbock, but for the EUB and for all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and appreciate the standing round of applause, which I don't think I've ever gotten. I don't want to just make a few comments. First of all, it's been the honor of my career to work for this board and for LPNL, for City of Lubbock, and for local LPNL customers. It's been, I appreciate the support of the board and the council over the last almost 8 years. We couldn't have accomplished all of those things that you were talking about without support from the board and the council to spend the money that we spent, issue the debt that we issued, and make the dramatic changes that we made. I also want to express appreciation to the 300 plus dedicated co-workers. None of this could have happened without their efforts, their professionalism, their hard work and dedication, working long hours at times. So appreciate their effort. Former PUC Commissioner Barry Smitherman once told a group of Texas Public Power Association members that, I think his closing comment was, take good care of your customers. And that's always stuck with me and kind of been my motto through the years. I guess I kind of stole that from him, but that's what this is all about, is taking care of our customers. And we do that through providing the lowest rates that we can provide. The ERCOT move was a big part of that. Moving to ERCOT get us in a lower power supply cost structure, and so hopefully our customers are benefiting from that. In fact, I know they are, because Joe's going to prove it to you here in a little bit. But, the retail choice is another way that we're taking care of our customers. And then, of course, reliability is the other leg of the stool. We've invested $100 million plus on improving the transmission system, substations, all the investment that we put back in the system to improve reliability for our customers. And then customer service, of course, taking care of our customers, AMI, retail choice, again, the things that we're doing that will benefit our customers over the long term. And this is some of the things that we put into place. You won't see the fruits of for many years to come, but they're there, and they're going to provide benefits to the 107,000 LPNL customers over time. You've got a good management team coming in, a really strong management team. Joel Ivey is going to be a good leader. You've got a core group of experienced, dedicated professionals to work with him. Got Harvey Hall now, who's our new Chief Financial Officer. Really strong background. He's gonna add a lot to the organization. Of course, working with Joe and Casey and Felix, our core team there. So I think the future is bright for LPNL. I know you're going to be successful going forward, and I wish you the best. And my wife and I have really enjoyed the move to Lubbock, and we've enjoyed working for LPNL. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stafford.
David, I just wanted to add that true leadership that you have demonstrated is an example for all of us, and your humility and wisdom has left this a better city and a better place. And it's kind of like using the Star Wars analogy. You're our Luke Skywalker, because you got through all the tough times, and any obstacle that came up, you did it with grace and with perseverance. So this city and this board is forever indebted to you, and thank you for all your service.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Matthew, go.
David, on behalf of the City Council and all the citizens of Lubbock, we're grateful for your service. You led during a time of incredible change for the utility, and as someone who's followed the utility probably closer over the past few years than some would, there's a fine line between great leadership from a voluntary perspective, great leadership from the administrative, and great leadership from the council. And there's been times when LP&L has been very volatile and unsure of its path, but I'm grateful to your leadership and your skill. We were in Austin during some tense times. We weren't quite sure where we were headed, but as I got to know you and understood where we were headed, I had great confidence that we were going to achieve what we needed to achieve. And so I know there's only 3 of us here, but I think I speak for all of us. You left it better than you found it, and we appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Mr. McCullough. That will lead us into executive session. We are now recessing into executive session in accordance with 1 VTCA Government Code 551.086 on competitive matters of Lubbock Power and Light, 2 VTCA Government Code 551.071 seeking advice of and consultation with Lubbock Power and Light's attorneys on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Government Code, and seeking advice of its attorneys about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and 3 VTCA Government Code 551.074 to the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, and/or duties of a public officer or employee. The EUB is now in executive session.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, it's 12:15, and the EUB board is reconvening into open session. Brings us to item 7. Approve the minutes from the regular electric utility board meeting on March 21st, 2022.
Move approval.
I have a motion by Mr. McMahon. A second by Ms. Henry. All those in favor do so by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same. Those are approved. Item 8, presentation by the Director of Utilities. Mr. McCullough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Board. I'm going to let Mr. Gardner go through the customer service report like he's been doing. I think he's better equipped to answer questions that y'all might have on that report. But I did want to introduce a new staff member, our new Chief Financial Officer, Harvey Hall. Started yesterday. He's been drinking from the fire hose right now. We've been hitting him with a lot, but so far he's shown up on his second day, which is always a good sign. So I wanted Mr. Hall to come up and say a few words, let y'all dialogue with him a little bit if you want to do that.
Thanks. Well, it's great to be here, and thank you for having me. So I come from about 27 years of 28 years now. It goes by quick. 28 years of electric utility experience. So I started off as a meter reader, getting chased by dogs in Portland, working for Portland General Electric. So you start from the bottom up, and you begin to appreciate electric utility from start to finish. So started off as a meter reader while I was going to night school, and so I was 10 years with Portland General Electric, investor-owned utility, and during that time I was a meter reader, worked my way into the legal department, just doing budget support, and then once I got my finance degree, I was doing generation accounting. So I know all about generation units and partnership accounting and all the things that go with that from an electric utility and how that works, and then also small stint in the retail industry, and then the rest of that time, the last gracious, 12 years now working in the public utility sector. So I've worked with, and all my electric utility experience has been in the Northwest, and the Northwest of the United States has its own dynamics. 60% of their generation's hydro, so we always worry about snowpack forecasts, so I got used to that. So you don't have much of a problem with that here with snowpack. It's like, it's pretty easy to do. So the dynamics are a little bit different, but I understand markets, I understand finance, I understand bonding, I understand risk management, and just looking at the opportunities and where the utility is going. It's exciting time to join. It's exciting time to be a part of it. Look forward to kind of bringing what I can to the team to, as they say, what do you bring to the party? I can bring quite a bit, and look forward to joining a really good team that has managed things through on the finance team with Joe and now Casey and Felix. Just to join the team that's been doing a great job in the interim and has continued to do that. I look forward to joining that team and supporting them and supporting the utility and the ratepayers of the city of Lubbock in the exciting future. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Any questions or anything?
Questions for Mr. Hall?
You know, obviously I haven't. Well, maybe today, but not nearly as much. It was 2 weeks ago. It was actually snowing in Portland. So when they were calling me and it was 89 degrees moving in, it's like, what's it doing there? It's actually snowing right now.
I don't want to speak for anyone. We might take snow as well
Well,
at this point.
we'll take it. All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Hall, welcome. We look forward to having you.
All right, thank you.
Welcome
Good
back.
afternoon, everyone. 5 weeks and 2
Say you
days.
came back,
Today's
yeah.
my 5 weeks and 2 days anniversary. So anyway, I've made it this far. That's a good thing. I'd like to echo everything that you all have said about David. I've always been, here for a long time. I've sat in the same chair that he's been in for other utilities, and it's a pleasure to come here and be able to work with somebody like David. You can tell his leadership and everything that he's done here, and you've had a good man, and I think there's going to be a good one coming in also. But anyway, I would really like to say thank you, David, for your leadership in the time that I've been here. You can sure see it. So anyway, thank you very much. On to the report. Let's talk about customer service recap for March of 2022. Start with project working hand, and we had 3,072 pledges for a total of $3,517.92 that came in and was placed in the project helping hand. So anyway, that's a great project, and I just now started looking at all the numbers in it, and it's amazing what is there and what can be done for people. For customer payments by customer type, we had by mail, we brought in $8,290,910. Electronically payments, we had $26,524,105. So anyway, it's quite a bit of payments coming in. It's about a little over 3 times electronically than mail. So I don't know if that's a word, electronically, you'll correct me, but by electronics. Call center activity, we did have an average wait time this month of 4 minutes, and our goal is less than 30 seconds, but we really need to take a look at that. But this also included the days that we were moving from the old building over to the new UCSC. So anyway, we're back in it now. I think they're really enjoying it. That's a nice building. Have y'all been to look at it? It is nice. We appreciate that, and it's a very good place to work there. We're still working on a couple of things on it, but that need repaired. But as everything you do, wherever you go, there's going to be something that happens. Except for Mr. Wilson's houses, of course. When he gets through with them, they're there. But abandoned rate, we had 16.6%. on abandoned rate. That also goes along with, you know, the wait time and everything. But, you know, let's take a look at the April numbers and kind of see where we're at, because we're back in there now. So anyway, we had customer calls taken of 21,192 calls, which is an 11.8% increase over the prior month, February. Service level, we had service level of 53%. Anyway, we're working on that, and we'll do better there, but that's a direct correlation with the number of people that you have working, and we're trying to get that up to staff, get the staff up on that. Average handling time, 5.56 minutes, so 5.5 minutes on that. Payment arrangements, as you can see, 43.13% were made with CSR, 37.66% made by via the web, and 19.2% were made through the IVR system. Lobby activity, we had 1,358 customers were served in the lobby by CSRs. They had an average wait time of about 3 minutes. So I think there's three personnel sitting there helping them with 2 extras, and then we have people that are helping with payments on the kiosk. So I've watched, and it seems like they're doing a really good job helping people on the kiosk and get the payments done. The lobby customer service surveys, we always try to do a customer service survey. There was, this is since inception now, so as of September of 2016, you know, it's a really good number. I mean, we've had over 5,227 that were very satisfied. So anyway, that's what we're going for, is that you work for those, but you work on this 10 that was very unsatisfied. So anyway, we've got to get that going and get those up, and we will. But anyway, it just takes time and to get your personnel up and the number up and doing what we need to be doing. So we'll get there. Is there any questions from anyone?
Question for Clint. Made it easy. Thanks, sir.
Hi, how are y'all today?
Welcome, Casey.
Good. I'm going to take us through our February financials. And we're going to get started as usual with our assets. So we can see we have an increase of about $28.5 million on our cash and cash equivalents since year end. The majority of that is from February. We had an $18 million drawdown on our bonds. So that's contributing a lot to that increase. And then you'll also see that reflected as a decrease in our restricted investments. We continue to see a decrease in our receivables as we're continuing to have an increase in our customer payments. And then in our construction in progress, we have an increase of about $13.5 million. That's going to be about $3 million of an increase since last month, and that's going to be due to spending on maintenance and upgrades to distribution as well as repairs to Massengale. And we're going to see an overall increase in our total assets since year end. Okay, move on to our liabilities. We do have a decrease in our payables. That's mainly due to timing. We're shown to be pretty consistent with where we were this time last year. For our deferred revenues, you can see we're still in a positive position at $5.5 million, although we did slightly decrease by about $200,000 from January on that. And then in our bonds payable, we see a decrease of $3.1 million, and that is due to a principal payment that we made in February. There were no changes to our non-current liabilities since year end. Okay, let's move on to our income statement. So we're going to see a decrease in our total operating revenues from this time last year, and that's mainly going to be due to our under-collected position. You can see it was $12 million last year, and that was a result of the winter storm that we got this time last year. And then we're also going to see a decrease in our operating expenses. Again, the winter storm caused an increase in our purchase power expenses, so that's driving those numbers. And so our overall operating income is going to be in a decrease as a result of that $12.9 million under collection amount. But if you look at our year-to-date numbers, we're showing an overall increase in operating income over last year. In our non-operating revenues and expenses, we're going to see a decrease to our miscellaneous expenses. This is going to be due to a decrease in FF and pilot expenses compared to last year as a result of the lower revenue numbers. And then if you look at our year-to-date totals, we're going to see an increase, and that's mainly going to be due to our increased interest expense on bonds, as well as a slightly increased FFE and pilot expense. And last, we'll move on to our cash flows. We're going to see a positive cash flow in our operating activities, and this is going to be due to continued increase in revenues as well as a decrease in payables. In our financing activities, we're going to see a negative cash flow, and that's going to be due to our CIP spending as well as payments on bonds and interest. And then in our investing activities, we're going to see a positive cash flow, and that's going to be a result of interest income as well as the movement of funds from restricted to unrestricted. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions?
All right, y'all have a good one.
Thank you, ma'am. Jamie's going to speak on item 10 regarding any updates on the transition to retail customer choice for Lubbock Power and Light.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So once again, I just want to highlight the same categories again. We really want to highlight the risks at this point so that they don't become issues later on. One of the bigger risks right now is getting the pro forma tariff, including Section 5, which includes the rates and fees. I know that's in process right now by finance. But again, from a project perspective, we're looking at having a draft copy of that by the end of our 8-week workshops in order to not have any more delay or not have any kind of delay affect the project. Additionally, another risk that we're identifying now is in organizational change management. Many areas of the organization are really at the, they're unsure of what changes are going to be coming and how they're going to affect them individually. It really goes back to, it doesn't affect me until it affects me. And we really learned some valuable lessons with our CIS and making sure that everyone was involved and aware of the changes coming. And so we're really trying to put those into practice with this. And we're really encouraging all areas of the organization to be involved in our workshops and meetings that we have scheduled. Lastly, we've got some technical going back and forth with the EDI gateway, which is, again, the transmission of data from LPNL to ERCOT. We're finalizing file formatting on that with the vendor-selected ESG. We're going to continue to focus on workshops. Again, we've got about 3.5 weeks left in that. We continue to capture key issues and risks from the workshops. We do try to address them as we get them, but there are some that we're working through, and we'll take some additional meetings post-workshops. As mentioned, the file format for ESG, staffing plan, project schedules, all of that is very close to being finalized, and we should have all that by the time we have our steering committee meeting for this next month. And that integrated project plan is really one of the key deliverables that we're looking forward to having because it plays into the next slide, which is our schedule. As of now, this is our schedule and everything is on time. Once we get that integrated project plan in place with all the details, we'll really be able to confirm that we'll be able to get everything done as expected. Any questions?
Questions for Jamie? Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Bring us to item 11, consider resolution appointing one individual to the City of Lubbock Audit Advisory Committee pursuant to the City Council Resolution number 2003 R0220 as amended by resolution numbers 2006 through R0091 and 2006 through R0515 in accordance with Article 4, Section C, Paragraph 13 of Lubbock Power and Lights Electric Utilities Board Policies and Procedures. If you all recall, Mr. Taylor sat on the the City of Lubbock's Audit Advisory Committee for the past 6 years or so for us. And we have one appointment that we can make as well as a board. So with that, I think last month we tasked everyone with thinking about that. And now I'm here to take nominations.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've spoken with Eddie Schultz, and that's in his wheelhouse. He's very familiar with audits and would be glad to serve on that committee. Also, I think it's important that we have a representative from this board on that committee, so I'd recommend that we put him on that board.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We have a nomination for Mr. Schultz to serve on that as our appointee. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Ms. Stafford. Any questions or comments there? I would agree he's qualified, and I will take a vote. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same? With Mr. Schultz abstaining, I'm guessing? So 8-0. 8-1? The question mark out there? Okay. Brings us to item 12, discuss committee assignments and take possible minute action to appoint members to the 1, Technical Review Committee, 2, the Financial Review Committee, 3, Human Resources Committee, and 4, Project Helping Hands. I sat down with, I guess it was Gwen and I, last week at the agenda meeting, and I'm going to go over last year's. We'll just start with, those are in the same order, I don't think. Sure enough, they are. Good job, Jenny. Technical Review Committee, we had Butch Davis was serving as a chair last year, Kevin as the officer liaison, and Don Boatman. I'd propose that we leave Butch as chair, Kevin as the officer liaison on there, and then put Lewis Harville on in Don's place. For the Financial Review Committee, Eddie Schultz was the chair, Greg Taylor, and Kevin was the officer liaison there. I would just keep the changes to Greg Taylor and put Dan Wilson on the Financial Review Committee, so you'd still have Eddie as the chair, and then Dan and Kevin as the officer liaison. And then the HR Committee, we had Greg Taylor as the chair, Eddie Schultz, and Gwen Stafford. And I would put Gwen Stafford as chair, Eddie Schultz, and Dan Odom as the officer liaison. And then Project Helping Hand, there would be no changes. We had Jane Henry as the chair, Solomon Fields, and Gwen Stafford on there. That's kind of my recommendations. If anybody has any comments or would rather be on a different one than that, let me know and we can make those changes. But if not, that's what I would put before the board.
Do you need a motion?
We need a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Ms. Stafford. Need a second? Got a second by Kevin. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same? Carries 9-0. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. We have items 13 through 21. I think everyone's probably seen those in their books, but if there's any that would like to be pulled off, let me know now. If not, we'll make a motion for items 13 through 21. Ms. Stafford?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item 19 from the consent agenda, please.
Okay. Item 19. You get that, Jenny? Okay. Well, let's take a motion on items 13 through 18 and 20 and 21, and then we'll bring item 19 to the floor. Can I have a motion for items 13 through 18 and 20 and 21? Have a motion by Dan. Need a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same? Those are approved. And then item 19 we'll bring up separately. Consider a resolution authorizing the Director of Utilities or his designee to execute the certain Third Amendment to Professional Services Agreement by and between the City of Lubbock, acting by and through Lubbock Power and Light and Shermco Industries regarding professional consulting services relating to communication, protection, and commissioning of electric transmission and distribution and substations and associated equipment and infrastructure as directed from time to time by LPNL. That item is up.
Mr. Chairman, my question concerned, it went from 2.2 to $4 million. That's a $1.7 million difference in our budget, and just wanted to understand the thoughts behind this and the various things. Are you going to be doing that, Chris? Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. This agenda item relates to an agreement, amended agreement with one of our partners, Shermco Industries. And they're very specific in what they do for us, and we've had them around for a couple of years now, and we need to keep them around for a few more years. All the new equipment we bought has been installed, and then we have to maintain it, and we have to set the protection equipment and the protection schemes in place so that the relays can look out across the system and work appropriately to make sure that we don't have any catastrophic failures. Shermco Industries are experts in relaying, and David brought them on early. And like I said earlier, we'd like to keep them. One of the things that they provide a lot of value to us is related to staff augmentation. Our substations department is going through some issues right now because the industry is changing in that particular department. And we've looked at the expenses of the department, the expenses of Shermco, and right now we have 14 people in our substations department, and we're using 14. And we have Shermco Industries is providing 2 employees every day to work alongside these employees. So that's the reason why we need to extend the term for another 12 months. And then to increase that not to exceed amount to make sure we can keep them on board, to finalize the relay settings through the first ERCOT move and then through the second ERCOT move that's coming up next spring.
On page 89 of that Exhibit B, yeah, y'all might want to look on page 89, the shop rates and then your engineering rates. Kind of, has that gone up, and how do we fit into that with our staff?
Sure, it's a great question. We primarily use one rate on that rate sheet, and that's a protection and control technician, and those are relay specialists. The other positions, we may have used them in the past, but right now we primarily use that protection and control relay technician position. So some of the things that we've been looking at in the department is quite a bit of turnover. With the economy, you know, there are some strains on all positions in all departments. I think if you would, I added a few notes to the agenda comments. If you wouldn't mind, I would read these to you, and that might help.
That'd
maybe.
be great.
Sure. No, wait, okay, we put together a draft. We went and looked at the department, looked at total operating expenses, looked at contractor expenses, looked at kind of where they're at right now with these 14 employees. And if it's okay, I'll just read this to you just a little bit. I always try to put together a few notes. With operating a complex transmission and distribution system with power plants, it's important to install new equipment and to maintain existing equipment. In 2019, with the first transmission, distribution, and power plant moved to ERCOT, LP&L installed a lot of new equipment, and we saw a need to contract for specialized communication functions related to how our substations equipment would communicate with the new and existing equipment. This communication function is a critical part of our system protection schemes, and it allows electrical equipment to communicate with each other, primarily through the use of electrical relays. Shermco Industries are experts in relay communications, and due to the complexity of there being over 1,200 relays at the 43 substations, we entered an agreement with them in 2019 to help us ensure the relays communicated and functioned so as to protect the critical transmission and distribution and power plant equipment. The agreement projected a not to exceed amount of $1.5 million, and soon after the first amendment was considered, we needed to adjust the not to exceed to $2.25 million. In the second amendment, along with adding 12 months to the agreement's term, in today's action, we're seeking a third amendment to the agreement, providing for an additional 12-month term and a revision to the not to exceed amount for a little over $4 million. And we believe this third amendment will meet our needs under normal circumstances to finalize the relay communication function. What we found when we started looking at the department is we don't have normal circumstances right now. So we are seeing and forecasting non-normal circumstances quickly approaching. As with operating a complex transmission distribution system with power plants, it is important to install new equipment and to maintain equipment. It's equally important to install and maintain your human resources. And I'm sure everyone knows that's an issue right now with the economy, and so we wanted to take a deeper look at that. The substations department is staffed with 14 positions, including a supervisor and a grounds maintenance or vegetation management employee. Of the 12 apprentices, journeymen, and foreman positions maintaining and testing the equipment, we have seen 5 leave since 2019. The substation supervisor and his manager have been recently interviewing employees leaving, and they're holding meetings with existing employees to learn more about the situation. The main theme centers on compensation. The management team is currently researching possibilities for a compensation study, and typically a compensation study would focus on the comparisons with other municipal electric utilities like LP&L. And we find there are others in the state of Texas in ERCOT, just like LP&L. There are 7 other municipals in ERCOT, but none are located in the Lubbock or regional labor market. So it makes it difficult to do some comparisons with salaries. Further research showed that of our 5 employees who have left since 2019, only 1 left for employment at another Texas municipal electric utility. So these employees are leaving for the privately owned, the IOU companies. Some might be leaving for the co-ops, and then some are leaving for the consultants. The consultants always pay quite a bit, but it's feast or famine. You go where the job's at. So there are risks there. Current budgeted substation employee compensation expenses for the 14 employees are $744,000, with an average starting salary rate for the 12 apprentices, journeymen, and foremen at $31 an hour. So these are our 3 positions that work with these relays. They also work with our breakers, with our transformers, and our battery banks. They have about 5 key functions that these 14 employees do. Current budgeted substations contracted compensation expenses for the 2 employees from Shermco are about $899,000, with an average hourly rate around $60 to $65 per hour. And that's to be expected. The consultants usually pay the most, and then the privately owned with the IOUs, and then we see compensation with the MOUs and then the co-ops. So we kind of expected that. I took the department through an old MBA trick. If you've ever gone to business school, doing a SWOT analysis, let's just look and see what's going on. Let's identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we found quite a few opportunities. One being this department's workload will decrease just in the amount of substations they're having to maintain when we do our next ERCOT move. Right now we have 43 substations, and once we finalize our next ERCOT move, we'll be around 28. So that's less properties they have to visit, less equipment, right? Some of the weaknesses we found, we only have 4 foreman positions. They're lead employees, and we only have 2 of those staffed right now. And one of them is eligible to retire, and one of them is eligible to, they've worked 15 years. So they can leave with some compensation benefits.
So Chris, forward-looking, it's not that we certainly don't need this contract. I don't disagree with that, but forward-looking, we need to probably look at some of the best budget implications on this on a move-forward basis.
Yes, agreed. And those budget implications might include, at the pleasure of the board and with staff, looking at there are professionals that do organizational structure and compensation studies for the municipals. We don't know if they do them for these 7 other municipals, meaning that we're a municipal electric utility operating transmission systems, distribution systems, power plants, and retail. And out of the 72 communities in the state of Texas, there's only 7 that look like us. They do what we do. So there's some comparisons there. There's some apples to apples that we can look for, but I don't think we have the expertise in staff to be able to do that. That may be something that we would seek your guidance on maybe bringing in a consultant to help us with, just to see what the market looks like. I think we would all agree that's important to obtain new human resources, and then we got to maintain our current ones. And right now we have a lack there. We don't really have a good plan on how to maintain our employees so we don't lose them. And we've relied on and used various compensation studies in the past, but the last one was done about 6 years ago. And so I'm not for sure exactly what would be the status quo on doing compensation studies for an organization like Lubbock Power and Light, but there's probably some reasonableness out there. 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. What does the market look like for labor market? And that would help us because ideally, you don't want consultants embedded with your departments for a long time. because they start comparing salaries. And they start talking, well, you do this and you do this. So we would love to, across the organization, of course, not have any consultants except when we need them for a short amount of time. We'd love to have the right employees. But we want to make sure that we can compensate those right employees so we can attract them to Lubbock.
Other questions? So Chris, real quick, on the $31 an hour, where does that, the cheapest wiring technician on here is $105 an hour?
Yes.
What's comparable? What's apples and apples, I guess?
And Mr. Chairman, that's where I don't know.
Okay.
We need someone to help us with that, to determine that. We have several different departments that are trying to do it on their own. They're doing public information requests and open records requests to other utilities of these 7. But I would entertain that. That's a professional job
Right.
there. There are people that know how to do that, and they know how to do it well.
But in this resolution, we're outsourcing $4 million, up not to exceed $4 million.
Yes, and it's been a slow, steady climb because we needed to keep them with us, especially till we get to this next ERCOT move.
Okay.
The relays are just like us in here. They talk to each other, and they make sure things are working. If those relays aren't talking, we have issues.
But if we had the people on staff to do all this, it'd been all in-house and everything else, we'd have the $4 million stand in our economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just to tell you, to build upon that a little bit of the scope, we have 43 substations, and each one of them are visited weekly by these 14 employees. There are over 1,200 relays that they maintain and test on a 6-year cycle. There are over 900 batteries to maintain and test every 18 months, just in the 23 LP&L substations, not the Excel substations we own, but just in the LP&L. There's right around 113 transformers they maintain and test on a 6-year cycle. And then there's over 300 breakers that they maintain and test on a 6-year cycle. And those cycles are pretty much set. They're defined when they'll happen, but things don't always happen as they're planned, right? So they're out there all the time doing these type of activities, but I'm looking at their planning. What do we expect them to do?
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We need a motion in a second. I would just like to say, I think we need to get the committee together or whatever and bring back to the board. But I mean, if just simple math, $4 million divided by 2,080 hours, and if you raised it $20 to 50, you could get 38 employees. That would be with LP&L and not being a consultant and everything else. I mean, we have to have this. We can't, in my opinion, we have to have this. But that's just going forward. I think we need to get something to keep it.
We can do that at the HR committee.
Okay. Yes, so we need a motion.
So moved to accept the recommendation.
Got a motion by Gwen, need a second? Got a second by Mr. Fields. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same? Carries 9-0. 19 is passed. That brings us to item 22. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.